Alright gamers, listen up because I have some opinions. Birding is good. I don't care if you're a big boy raider who only plays for the high tier raids. I get it, that's where the game becomes interesting for you. I don't care if you're a straight out of Arquette level 5 hobbit who literally locks your character to the Shire for your entire game. I get that too. If that's your style, who am I to judge? But birding has the potential to improve the game. Let me elaborate here. Birding is the start of a somewhat principled approach on content design. The concept of living in Middle-earth hasn't really been adequately explored outside of landscape quests. You may think, what about housing, roleplay, music, cosmetics, fishing? And yeah, all of those things can add to the immersion and general vibe of the game, but these activities are all completely unrelated to the gameplay of landscape. They're things that people often do during their downtime. It can be very comfy to just chill with your homies while playing some music or working on your house, but it's not the main game. And yeah, these activities do have significant communities, but many of them are often insular to the rest of the game. They have their niche, and will just focus on that one thing alone while exclaiming that Lotra is a great MMO because it's immersive and has all these activities you can do. But other than what I've just mentioned, there's really not anything else. Look back to the last new system added to landscape. I can think of the difficulty system, and that was a good approach for making the game more interesting for people who don't want to face roll the content. It's also a very good incentive to slow down a bit, which in my view leads to reading the quests more and getting more immersed. Video on Umbar soon. But the difficulty system doesn't add to the content, it only enhances it. Other than questing and grinding out deeds, there's nothing really novel about the gameplay of landscape other than the quest content itself. And that can be fine for a player who hasn't gone through it before. But unless you're grinding out all of the deeds from a masochistic standpoint, you're not incentivized to truly explore the game or keep an eye out for anything in particular. Ah, but what about crafting? Yeah, you could make the argument that crafting enhances the gameplay, but it's not exactly a fresh activity. The crafting loop is the same no matter what tier you're at. You look for resources, you craft a level up, you craft some gear maybe, and oh wow, this rock looks different from that one. Fascinating. I may be wrong on this, but I think a lot of people bash crafting out as a chore rather than an activity. At least that's what I did when I had several alts at cap and finally thought, fuck it, I better go and get my crafting level up. But I have yet to see a solid argument for why they shouldn't add new incentives to explore the world a bit. A video game will always feel fresh if you're doing something new. It's hard to impress someone who has played for over a decade with something fresh when the gameplay loop has been more or less the same the entire time. I get that. But you've got to think about the wider community here. Yes, a new hobby won't be interesting for everyone, but it is my hope that it inspires the general player base to be a bit more proactive in their gameplay. And please don't mistake the average casual player for the overly vocal but intellectually deficient forum boomers. I know it's easy to be led to believe that they are the face of the community, but in actuality, they're not. The majority of players are what I like to call the faceless mob, and they don't particularly have a voice. I hope the birding hobby is done well and is appreciated by the wider player base. There's a lot of untapped potential in the casual player base, and I think we don't see as much of an outcry for living in Middle-earth content because they don't know how good they could have it. They're an easily complacent side of the game, which are just happy to quest and live in the comfy house. Few will ever really ask themselves, what if? But there's been a request for a new hobby for years. Can anyone seriously look at the fishing hobby and say, without a shred of irony, that it's an interesting mechanic in the slightest? Is that what you want to do with your time? What I'm really saying with this video is, fuck Ballard. Go play Hello Kitty Island Adventure, you fucking moron.